This story is titled "My Parents Kicked Me Out for Their Golden Child, then demanded I keep paying their bills. So I made them regret it." Hey everyone, before we dive into today's video, I need a quick favor. We've noticed the channel's been losing some momentum, and one of the best ways you can help is by subscribing. It's fast, free, and makes a huge difference in helping us keep creating awesome content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. And now, let's get into the video. I always knew I was just the backup son. You know how some parents pretend they love their kids equally? Mine didn't even bother. My older brother, Alex, was their pride and joy, their golden child. Me? I was just there. Growing up in a middle-class neighborhood in Minneapolis, I learned pretty quickly that nothing I did would ever measure up to Alex. My mom used to beam every time he walked into a room. She would corner random people at church or the grocery store just to brag about his accomplishments, while I stood there like a damn shadow. When he left for college at Northwestern, my mom was depressed for months. Not exaggerating, she called him every single day, like she was going through withdrawal or something. It was honestly pathetic to watch. And it's not like I was some screw-up. I was athletic too. I wrestled in high school, even placed at state twice. But somehow, my trophies ended up collecting dust in the basement while Alex's 4th grade most improved football certificate was proudly displayed in the living room. I'm not even joking. This dude had an elementary school participation ribbon hanging in the hallway until the day I moved out. I figured out early that no matter what I achieved, I'd never be Alex. Even when I graduated with honors in business management and landed a solid job at a medical equipment distribution company, my mom's response was, "That's nice, honey. Did you hear Alex might be up for a promotion at his marketing firm?" Mind you, Alex had been up for a promotion about 5 times already and never got it. Probably because he spent more time networking at bars than actually working. But my parents would never acknowledge that. The worst part? I accepted it. I thought that's just how families worked. Someone gets to be the golden child, and someone has to be the spare. Guess which role I got stuck with? Then, when I was 23, just a year into my career, my parents dropped what they thought was good news. They were retiring. My mom had spent years bouncing between random part-time jobs at clothing stores, and my dad was done being an insurance adjuster. Their brilliant plan? I would move back home and help out until Alex had kids, then they'd move to Colorado to be near him. It was just temporary, they said. I was an idiot. I agreed. Fast forward 5 years. Alex still hadn't produced the grandkids they were desperate for. Actually, he was struggling big time. He and his wife, Megan, could barely pay their bills in Denver. Last time I saw him was 2 Christmases ago. He spent the entire weekend bitching about his condo, his boss, and his entire life while wearing designer clothes he couldn't afford. Dude would show up in $300 jeans and a brand new watch while complaining about how the system was keeping him down. He barely acknowledged me, treating me like I was the family dog, just there for background noise. Meanwhile, I was the one holding everything together. I had worked my way up to regional sales manager, started paying rent to help with my parents' expenses, took care of the house, the yard, everything. I even remodeled their bathroom and built a deck in the backyard with my own 2 hands. But no matter what I did, my mom still acted like Alex was God's gift to humanity. One time, I landed a major account at work that boosted my commission by thousands. My mom's response? "Oh, that's nice, honey. Hey, do you think you could loan Alex some money? He's going through a rough patch." The rough patch being that he leased a BMW he couldn't afford and was now panicking about the payments. And this wasn't the first time, or the 5th. They had asked me to bail him out more times than I could count. Every family gathering was the Alex show. If you bothered to call on holidays, everyone would crowd around the phone like the damn president was on the line. If he visited, my parents would spend weeks preparing, getting his favorite foods, cleaning his old room like the queen was coming to stay. Meanwhile, my birthday? My mom would maybe bake a box cake. Alex's birthday? 3 days of cooking all his favorite meals, full family reunion, big celebration. But then, everything changed. A few months ago, Alex lost his job. And since he and Megan were already living paycheck to paycheck, maxing out credit cards to maintain their image, they were completely screwed. My mom? Thrilled. Not even joking. She was practically bouncing in her seat at dinner when she told me the news. "This is perfect," she squealed. "Alex and Megan can move in while he gets back on his feet. And maybe once they're settled, they'll finally start a family." My stomach dropped. The way she said it? Like she had been waiting for this moment for years. Not once did she ask what I thought about it. Not once did she consider me. I was just expected to get out of the way so Alex could take my place. Then, a few nights later, they sat me down for a family meeting. There just isn't enough room for everyone, my mom said in her fake sweet voice. Besides, it's time for you to focus on finding a wife and starting your own family. But here's the kicker. They still expected me to keep paying rent. Even after they kicked me out. I just sat there, feeling like I had been sucker punched. 5 freaking years. I put my life on hold to help them. I was the responsible one while Alex lived his best life hundreds of miles away. And now? They were kicking me out so their golden boy could move in, but they still wanted my money. My dad must have seen I was about to lose it, because he quickly added, "You don't have to decide now. Take your time to think about it." But I didn't need time. For the first time in my life, I saw my parents for what they really were. This was never about being fair. This was never about appreciating what I did for them. It was always about Alex. And in that moment, I made a decision. I was done being their backup plan. By the next morning, my shock had hardened into pure rage. I kept replaying every moment in my head. Every family dinner where they only talked about Alex instead of asking about my promotion. Every time Mom showed off Alex's old high school jersey to visitors while my wrestling trophies gathered dust in the garage. Every time they asked me for money, not for them, but for Alex. And now, they expected me to just disappear, but still pay their bills? Hell, no. I wasn't going to be their ATM anymore. I told them I'd think about it, but my mind was already made up. I was done. I started packing that same night. Quietly. Methodically. I took my time, first my important documents, valuables, work stuff. The things they wouldn't notice were missing. Then my clothes. My gym equipment. My laptop. Every night, I'd move a little more out, telling them I was reorganizing whenever they noticed boxes disappearing. I wasn't about to leave anything behind for Alex to pawn the second I was gone. Especially Granddad's old toolbox, the one real inheritance I had from my family. I triple-checked every socket and wrench before locking it in my truck. By Thursday, I found a new apartment, 15 minutes from work, 2 bedrooms, a nice balcony where I could grill. Most importantly, it was mine. I signed the lease that same day. And by Saturday night, I was gone. Leaving that night felt like a prison break. I waited until after midnight, partly to avoid their questions, partly because I couldn't handle their guilt trips. I loaded the last of my things into my truck. My bed, my gaming setup, the last few boxes of clothes. Then, I left my house key on the kitchen counter with a short note. Found my own place. Don't contact me about rent. Simple. Direct. Everything our relationship wasn't. I drove away without looking back. For the first time in years, I felt free. No more walking on eggshells. No more being the afterthought. No more paying for a house that wasn't mine. That first week in my new place? It was bliss. I left my gym bag on the couch without Mom nagging me to clean up. I could cook real meals without someone making fun of my weird health food. I got back on my workout schedule. Set up my home gym. And best of all, no more Alex. I blocked my parents and him on everything: phone, email, social media, even LinkedIn. Didn't want him trying to guilt me through work. I was done. Then, 3 weeks later, the call came. An unknown number. I almost didn't pick up, but something told me to. It was Uncle Rick. "Jake, what the hell, man?" he said. "You just disappeared on your parents? They're about to lose the house." I blinked. What? What are you talking about? And that's when he dropped the bombshell. Turns out, Alex had been jobless for 6 months. Not just a few weeks like Mom had claimed. 6 months. And my parents? They had been secretly sending him thousands of dollars a month for his expensive condo, his designer clothes, his leased BMW. Even worse, they had taken out a second mortgage on the house. Without telling me. All while expecting me to keep covering their mortgage. I could barely process it. "So let me get this straight," I said, gripping my phone so hard my knuckles turned white. They borrowed against the house without telling me and still expected me to pay their mortgage while they funneled my money to Alex? That's exactly right. Rick sighed. And now they're panicking because they might lose the house if they miss more payments. Then he hit me with the final blow. "You need to step up and fix this, Jake." I laughed. Not even out of humor, just sheer disbelief. "Fix it? Why the hell is that my responsibility? They're your parents, Jake." Rick snapped. "Family takes care of each other." "Really? Where was Alex when they needed help?" I shot back. He's been bleeding them dry for years while I've been the one keeping the roof over their heads. Rick went silent, because he knew I was right. I hung up, my heart pounding. I sat there, staring at the wall, trying to process everything. All those times they said they were a little tight this month or needed me to chip in extra for utilities. It wasn't because their retirement money wasn't stretching. It was because they were bailing out Alex, behind my back. For years, the betrayal hit deep. I had been working overtime, breaking my back to support them, while they were secretly funding Alex's entitled, lazy lifestyle. And now? Now, after digging this financial grave, they wanted me to climb in and pull them out. No, absolutely not. But then, I thought about the house. I had grown up there. I had put years of work into it, the roof repairs, the rewiring, the plumbing. If the bank foreclosed, all of that would be gone. And if I was going to keep paying for something, then I wanted it to actually benefit me. So I made them an offer. I showed up at the house unannounced. Mom looked like she hadn't slept in days, and Dad barely met my eyes. Alex and Megan were sitting in the living room. Alex sprawled out like he owned the place, looking smug, probably thinking I was there to offer help. He had gained weight, still rocking designer clothes he couldn't afford, and worst of all, he had that same arrogant smirk like he had already won. "I know about the second mortgage," I said flatly. The second those words left my mouth, Mom's hopeful expression vanished, and Alex's smirk faltered. "Rick told me everything." Mom opened her mouth, but I cut her off. "You lied to me. For years. You took my money and funneled it to Alex while I broke my back keeping this place together. And now, after using me, you expect me to step in and save you again." Dad looked at the floor, silent. Mom sputtered something about family and sacrifice, but I had heard enough. "I have an offer," I continued, ignoring Alex rolling his eyes. "I take over the mortgage. Legally. We transfer the house into my name. No someday promises, no vague agreements. I own it." Mom looked horrified. "This is our family home. We're not just going to sign it over to you like it means nothing." "It's not nothing," I said coldly. "It's your only chance to keep living here instead of losing everything." Alex scoffed. "You can't just walk in and take what's supposed to be my inheritance." I laughed in his face. "Your inheritance? You barely set foot in this house in 10 years. Meanwhile, I've been the one maintaining it, paying the bills, supporting Mom and Dad while you lived 3 states away, bleeding them dry. So tell me, Alex, what exactly have you done to deserve this house?" His face turned red. "You don't understand my situation." "No, I do," I shot back. "You spent years leeching off of them, refusing to take responsibility. Now you're broke, unemployed, and expect me to bail you out. I'm done playing that game." Mom begged me to reconsider. She went on and on about how Alex was just going through a tough time and that families should help each other. Dad just sat there, defeated, like he had already accepted that this was their fate. I stood firm. "Here's the deal. You sign over the house to me, you pay me rent, or you figure this out on your own." I'm not budging. I could see the gears turning in Mom's head. She knew there was no way out of this. She glanced at Alex, but for once, he had no comeback. He just sat there, fuming. He probably thought if they ignored me long enough, I'd cave like I always had. Not this time. A week later, they called me back. They were ready to sign. The day we finalized the transfer, Mom cried like she was signing away a child. Dad just looked broken. And Alex? He wasn't even there. Couldn't be bothered to show up. Typical. I gave them 3 months to figure things out. I wasn't trying to leave them homeless, but I wasn't about to fund Alex's lifestyle anymore. And predictably, he never paid a single cent of rent. Every month, it was a new excuse. He was waiting on a check, or the job market was rough, or my personal favorite, it's unfair to pay rent in the house I grew up in. After 3 months of this nonsense, I had enough. I evicted him. He lost it. Full meltdown mode. Screaming that I was dead to him, that I had always been jealous because Mom and Dad loved him more, that I was just trying to humiliate him. Mom cried. Dad stared blankly at the table. I didn't budge. "If you want to support him, you can go with him," I told them flatly. That shut them up real quick. Alex had nowhere to go. He ended up crashing at Uncle Rick's place, who quickly got tired of his crap and kicked him out, too. He ended up in a rundown apartment, working a retail job he hated. Megan left him a few weeks later, showing up at my door with a suitcase, saying she couldn't do it anymore. Apparently, even after losing everything, Alex still refused to get a job and expected her to keep supporting him. She stayed in my spare bedroom for a while, got a job, and later moved into her own place. Last I heard, she was dating someone new, someone who actually had a job. As for me, my life finally began. No more obligations. No more being the family doormat. I renovated the house top to bottom, ripped out the old carpet, installed hardwood floors, upgraded the kitchen, even turned Alex's old room into a home gym. A year later, my girlfriend Sarah moved in. We got married in a small ceremony. I didn't invite my parents. Didn't even think about inviting Alex. Then, 6 months ago, I got the call. It was Dad. His voice was hoarse, barely above a whisper. "Jake, we need help." Turns out, Rick had finally had enough and gave them 30 days to move out. Mom's health was deteriorating. Dad's part-time job barely covered their medications. And Alex? He had moved to Florida, completely abandoning them. I almost laughed. The golden child had bailed the moment things got hard. "So now you're calling me?" I said. Dad sighed. "Son, we were wrong. We've always been wrong about you. You were the one who was there for us, and we chose Alex every time. I don't expect you to forgive us, but we have nowhere else to go. I could have told them to figure it out themselves. I could have hung up, but I'm not them. There's a small apartment over the garage I've been renovating," I said finally. "You can stay there. Temporarily. But there are conditions. You pay what you can for rent, even if it's just a few $100. You don't mention Alex to me or Sarah. And you acknowledge, out loud, that you were wrong." Silence. Then, finally, "Thank you, Jake. We don't deserve it, but thank you." They moved in last month. It's been weird. Mom cried when she saw the house and all the renovations I made. Dad actually shook my hand for the first time in years. They walk on eggshells around me now, like they finally understand they're not in control anymore. Last week, I overheard Mom on the phone with one of her church friends. "My son Jake owns his own business now," she said proudly. "He was always the responsible one. It shouldn't matter, but somehow it does." As for Alex? Last I heard, he got fired from a bartending job in Miami and was asking Mom for money again. She told him she couldn't help him anymore. Baby steps, I guess. 2 weeks ago, I got an email from Alex. Just one line. "I hope you're happy now that you've turned everyone against me." I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. Some days, I wonder if I was too harsh. If maybe, just maybe, I should have been more forgiving. Then I remember every single time I was dismissed, every time I was expected to fix things while Alex got to live his life without consequences. I remember all the times I was treated like an afterthought, a safety net, a walking bank account. And I realize I didn't owe them anything. The house that was supposed to be Alex's inheritance, it's where my kid will be growing up soon. Sarah is pregnant with our first child, a boy. And if we have more kids later, they'll all be treated equally. There will be no golden child, no backup son. My parents still live in the garage apartment. They don't complain. They don't ask for more. They know better now. Mom still gets that guilty, martyr look sometimes, like she wants to say something about Alex but bites it back at the last second. Dad's more direct. He actually apologized a few months ago. Told me he was proud of me but didn't know how to show it. Told me he let Mom's obsession with Alex dictate our family for too long. It was too little, too late, but it was something. I don't think I'll ever fully forgive them, but I let them stay because, at the end of the day, I'm not them. Alex, on the other hand, he's still the same. Last I heard, he's back in Minnesota, living in some shitty apartment and working at a cell phone store. He still calls Mom, still asks for money that he'll never pay back. A few weeks ago, he had the balls to message Sarah on Facebook, trying to get her to talk some sense into me about family obligations. She blocked him immediately. Dad's actually been stepping up lately. He's fixing up the garage apartment, making it more comfortable for them. He knows this is the best they're going to get. Mom still makes excuses for Alex, still gets that wounded look when she talks about him, but she's making an effort with Sarah, and I can appreciate that. As for me, business is booming. I'm sleeping just fine at night, knowing I finally stood up for myself. Some of you might think I was too harsh. Maybe I was. But after 30+ years of being the family doormat, I'm okay with that.